Today's lesson is the thrill of surprise, understanding gotcha games. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to continue talking about gotcha games. We're trying to understand gotcha games, where they came from, and how they work. Now, remember, we talked about the machines that have been installed in various places around the world, including here in Taiwan. And the first one was thought to have been installed in Tokyo in 1965. And we've also got this concept of blind boxes, where you really don't know what you're going to get, but they are tempting. And you might be a collector of those items.
Absolutely right. Now, of course, all of these things you have to pay for. The gotcha games that you buy from the gachapon machines will probably just be a few coins. But if you're buying one of the blind boxes, especially if you're at like a big science fiction fan convention, they might run you a little bit more money, but you'll be getting a lot more inside. It won't just be one small toy. You might have half a dozen little things in there, everything from posters to t-shirts to stickers and also little toys. So a lot of people love these things. It gives you that little bit of thrill, that little bit of discovery of trying out something new and getting something you didn't expect. And hey, if you're a big collector, maybe you're going to get something quite valuable in there if you are really, really lucky. But today we're going to turn our attention to some more modern forms of these gotcha games, some of which exist in the real world and some of which are only available online. So let's find out more about some interesting gotcha games.
Trading card games. Trading card games such as Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Also utilize gotcha mechanics. Booster packs, which contain a random selection of cards, offer the chance to get rare or powerful cards. This can be especially appealing given the competitive nature of these games.
大家好，第一部分介绍形容词 competitive， 指竞争的，也可以是好胜的，或是具有竞争力的。例如 The environment at high-ranking universities can be very competitive. 名列前茅的大学环境可能是非常竞争的。或者 In a competitive market, companies need to be creative to stay ahead. 在一个竞争的市场，公司需要创新才能保持领先。
Okay, so again, the topic for today is gotcha games. We're taking the concept of gotcha capsules and applying it to games here. So first of all, we've got trading card games. Okay, so trading cards are just simply cards that you buy in your local stationery store or whatever. I remember when I was younger, of course, I used to buy baseball cards or hockey cards or whatever. Those are trading cards. You get a little pack and it maybe has 10 cards in there and a sticker and a piece of gum or something like that. And of course, you'll probably get some cards that you already have. So of course, you want to trade them with your friends. That's why they're called trading cards. And here in Taiwan, of course, we've got different kinds of trading card games, such as Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! These are different kinds of card games. I think my daughter had some from some kind of popular manga or anime back maybe 20 years ago or so. But in any case, these are some examples of those card games. Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! They also utilize gotcha mechanics. Okay, so mechanics is basically having to do with machines and motion and physics and forces and things like that.
And we can also use it, of course, here to talk about just how the game works. When we talk about the mechanics of the game, we're kind of talking about the basic rules of the game, how the game is set up, the logic of the game. Different sports might have similar mechanics to them, or different video games. If you've never played this game, but you've played another first-person shooter or role-playing game, an RPG, then someone might say, oh, it's very similar to the mechanics of that game, the way you level up, the way you fight, the way you equip your characters. So just basically the logic of the game, kind of the rules of the game, the way the game works is very, very similar. So booster packs, it says, which contain a random selection of cards, offer the chance to get rare or powerful cards. Ooh, interesting. interesting. I believe Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! These are also not just where you collect the cards, but you're actually playing a game against each other. Like the Pokemon card will be more powerful than one of the other characters, and you kind of battle using mathematics or things like that, adding up different powers and things. So you have these booster packs, which I suppose come equipped with extra special spells or powerful weapons or things like that. And this will be a random selection of cards. There's that random idea, that surprising idea, that gambling idea. You buy one and it might be filled with, I have all these things. And then you buy another one and all of a sudden your friends are so jealous because you have the best card that they've ever seen. And how are you so lucky to get that? That kind of excitement and thrill. So it offers a chance to get rare or powerful cards, which can be, of course, very attractive to collectors. This can be especially appealing given the competitive nature of these games. So imagine you're a big poker player and suddenly you get an emperor card, which is above the king and above the ace. And all of a sudden your friends are like, I'm never going to win against you. You have these really powerful cards. You're going to be dominating every game. That's, of course, great for you if you have those cards in your hand, in your pack. But it can be quite competitive. They do have big competitions of these different types of games, hundreds of players in a room. So if you're playing in a situation like that where it's competitive, where everyone is trying to win and playing as hard as they can to be the winner against tough opponents, then of course this can give you that extra little advantage that you might need to become the Yu-Gi-Oh! Champion of your high school or neighborhood or maybe even town or country.
Yeah, these games can be very competitive. Of course, they're having to do with competitions of having people play against each other to see who can win. Some jobs, for example, in certain fields are very competitive. Lots of people want those jobs. So, of course, you're going to need the best qualifications to get that job. And, of course, these contests can also be referred to as competitions. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's talk about the video games now.
Gotcha video games. Today, the term gotcha games most commonly refers to video games that use a chance-based system. Players spend in-game currency, usually acquired by completing in-game tasks or purchased with real money, to pull for characters, items, or upgrades. These prizes are often given to the player in the form of loot boxes. Typically resembling treasure chests, loot boxes are designed to increase player excitement with their animated bursts of color and joyful sound effects. Popular titles like Genshin Impact and the NBA 2K series utilize this system to keep players engaged. However, loot boxes have faced criticism due to their addictive nature and similarity to gambling.
第二部分看到名词 currency 表示货币，例如Lillian needed local currency since some businesses don't accept credit cards. Lillian 需要当地货币，因为有些商家不接受信用卡。或是 If you need that particular foreign currency, you'll have to visit a different branch. 如果你需要那种特定外币，必须前往其他分行。接着看到动词 acquire 指获得、取得或是学到。例如 Sid acquired some old books from his uncle.Sid 从叔叔那里取得了一些旧书，也可以说 The museum will acquire several rare artifacts for its upcoming exhibition. 那间博物馆将为即将举行的展览取得几件稀有文物。下一个介绍动词 purchase 表示购买或是采购。我们可以说 Toby purchased a plot of land to farm. Toby 买了一块土地来耕种。又或者说You can purchase tickets for the show online or at the entrance. 你可以在网络上或入口处购买演出门票。后面看到动词 resemble， 意思是与点点点相像或是类似。例如 Jill's features closely resemble her mother's. Jill 的五官跟她妈妈很像。再看一个例子 The clouds resembled a giant dragon in the sky. 云朵在空中看起来像一条巨大的龙。继续看到名词 criticism， 它表示批评或是批判。可以说 The book Henry wrote was a criticism of modern art. Henry 写的这本书是对现代艺术的批评。也可以说 The design of the new building has drawn a lot of criticism from the public. 那栋新大楼的设计 招来了公众的许多批评。
All right, we are back with our look at gotcha games. We've already talked about gotcha trading card games for people who might be into those types of games. Booster packs can give you powerful cards and powerful spells that might turn you from just an average player into a champion player. But what about online? What about the way a lot of people play their games these days? Video games, both online, both using different game machines like PlayStation, things like that, PC games, and of course, the very, very popular mobile gaming, just playing games on your phone. There's all sorts of ways gotcha mechanics have been incorporated into these types of high-tech games. So gotcha video games. It says today the term gotcha games most commonly refers to video games that use a chance-based system. So although the history goes back to the gachapon machines, the amount of money that those machines make compared to the amount of money that people spend online, it doesn't even compare. Online gaming like this, I mean, I think that some of the spending is up there with sort of Las Vegas gambling and Macau gambling. We're talking hundreds of millions or billions of dollars spent by gamers for all of these different things, but it's still using a chance-based system. Chance-based, in other words, it's based on chance or luck.
Right, or at random, basically. So yes, indeed, you want to have some good cards in order to win, and I suppose it all depends on luck. And players spend in-game currency, usually acquired by completing in-game tasks or purchased with real money to pull for characters, items, or upgrades. So this has to do with the mechanics of the game, how it works here. You use that in-game currency. A currency is the kind of money that you use. Nowadays, of course, we've got the US dollar, Japanese yen, the euro, the pound, etc. Those are all forms of currency. But this would be a currency that only exists in this game. It's in-game currency. And how do you get this money online? Well, it is usually acquired by completing in-game tasks, or you can purchase it with real money. So to acquire just means to get something. And in this particular case, you get that currency, you get that money by completing these tasks or these challenges that take place in the game itself. Or you could actually just reach into your pocket and buy them with some money. Maybe Bitcoin or something would work as well. To purchase, again, just means to buy something, and you do this to pull for characters, items, or upgrades. It enhances their abilities, and you can get these things.
Yeah, maybe it enhances your chances of getting the really good things that you want to get, the really good characters, items, or upgrades. It says these prizes are often given to the player in the form of loot boxes. So before we had gachapon capsules coming out of the gachapon machines, here online it takes the form of loot boxes. So basically it's a box, it's unknown what is inside, and then you open it, and there's often a wonderful bunch of graphics with sparklers or confetti jumping out of the box, turning it into a wonderful present opening experience. So that's what players are buying, these loot boxes. It says, typically resembling treasure chests, loot boxes are designed to increase player excitement with their animated bursts of color and joyful sound effects. Yes, opening one is a little event in itself. They look like or they resemble treasure chests. Of course, a treasure chest, we can all picture these from pirate movies and things like that. So it's a box. It might have some golden fasteners on it and a big lock on the front, and then you open it, it pops open, and all these wonderful things jump out. So it looks like or it resembles a treasure chest. And yeah, they're designed to increase player excitement. That's the way they're made, to get your heart racing, to get the endorphins in your brain being released and whatnot. So it's fun, it's exciting, you don't know what's going to be there, and oh wow, look at that, what did I get? Not much. But anyways, that animated burst of color, those joyful sound effects can be pleasing to all sorts of people. But I think the problem is that sometimes young people can be especially vulnerable to this type of thing. They enjoy this much more than grown-ups might, and therein lies possibly one of the problems with this.
That would be a criticism of of this, it does sound a lot like gambling. And popular titles like Genshin Impact and the NBA 2K series utilize this system to keep players engaged. So these are some kinds of games here, and these particular titles utilize this system of the loot boxes to keep you engaged. If you're engaged, you're kind of addicted, you are involved with it, and you don't want to quit.
However, loot boxes have faced criticism due to their addictive nature and similarity to gambling. Yes, especially because young people are playing these games as well. So that is one of the problems. Young people may not be as strong in resisting the temptation of opening these things and spending their money. They would still need access probably to a credit card at some point. So I think the parents should be involved. But young brains can often be very easily attracted by this kind of thing. So that's the criticism. When we point out the bad things, the things that aren't so good, the things that are wrong with something, that's criticism. We often talk about constructive or helpful criticism. This isn't so good, but maybe you could change it this way to make it better. Oh, that's very helpful. That's very constructive. And then it can just be, I don't like it because I don't like you. That can be sort of unfair criticism based on just your personal feelings, but not really talking about what the actual problem is at hand. But this criticism, I think it is fair. They're just trying to make these better and safer for people. But they say it's due to the addictive nature. You open one, it gives you a little rush, a little thrill. You miss that, so you open another, and pretty soon you spent 5,000 NT in one evening on these loot boxes for very little in the real reward department. It's just spending money for that thrill, and it has definitely a similarity to gambling. You're spending money to play a game of chance where you could win, you could lose. But of course, gambling is usually set up so that you lose more often than you win. That's why the gambling companies and casinos and stuff stay in business and make a lot of money. So gambling, getting people to spend money on games of chance where they could win or lose. I think another criticism from some gamers is that if you're rich, you can buy all of these boxes, get all the best stuff, and become a much better player than the players who put in hours and hours of hard work. So you're kind of paying a little bit to cheat. And that's another criticism of some of these loot boxes from a fairness point of view.
Yeah, that sounds like how a lot of rich people win the lottery more often by buying all those tickets that poor people cannot afford.
Interesting.
And yes, indeed, this gambling is addictive. You could also say you can get addicted to something. You might get addicted to gambling if you try to play this game. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Here is the third part.
Responsible play. Although gotcha games can be harmless, some people spend too much time or money playing them. Therefore, players should remain mindful of their limits and treat these games as a form of entertainment rather than a necessity. By playing responsibly, players can enjoy the fun of gotcha games without any regrets.
第三部分看到 mindful 这个单字，它是形容词，指的是留心的或是注意的。举例来说 ，When cycling, you should be mindful of nearby traffic. 骑脚踏车的时候，你应该留意周遭的交通。或者 Vanessa always tries to be mindful of other people's needs and feelings. Vanessa 总是努力留意他人的需求和感受。
All right, so we're now back with gachapon games, or gotcha games, we should say. Let's talk about responsible play. How to play gotcha games responsibly so they don't turn into a problem with you spending money and things like that, getting addicted or hooked on them. It says, although gotcha games can be harmless, some people spend too much time or money playing them. Young people or people with just that kind of addictive nature. One more chance, just one more chance. I know I'm going to win this time. If you find yourself doing that, or spending money that you really don't have or can't afford, it's time to stop.
Indeed. So yeah, they can be harmless if you know your limitations, but again, some people spend a lot of time and money on them. Therefore, players should remain mindful of their limits and treat these games as a form of entertainment rather than a necessity. So always remember, it's just a game and it's just for fun. You're not actually going to Macau to gamble your life away. This is just for fun to play online or with your friends. You need to be mindful of your limits. To be mindful just means to remind yourself of what's going on. Monitor yourself. Basically, watch what you're doing and don't let this get out of hand. Don't spend so much money and you'll end up poor and living under a bridge or something like that. Yeah, it's just entertainment and it's not something you absolutely need to do.
I absolutely agree. It's all in good fun. So, set yourself a spending limit. Don't spend more than a few dollars a month or something like that. And I think it can be definitely something that can be enjoyed. But the other thing is, if it's a really good game, you should be able to enjoy it without spending all of this extra money. And there are some really great games out there that once you buy them, or even playing them for free, it requires very little financial investment. You can just have a good time and turn the game off without pulling your credit card out of your wallet at any time. So do be aware of them. Please enjoy them responsibly, as it says there. But still, a little bit of a thrill every once in a while may not be such a bad thing.
Yeah, playing responsible, or by playing responsibly, you can enjoy the fun of gotcha games without any regrets. So yes, be careful when you play these games. Okay, we're at the end of our lesson for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分提到集换式卡牌游戏也应用了扭蛋机制。那课文最后一句写到 This can be especially appealing given the competitive nature of these games. 由于这些游戏具有竞争性，因此这种随机性对玩家特别有吸引力。文中用到 given 在这边是当介系词，表示考虑到某状况的前提下。那常用的句型会是 given 加名词，或者是 given that 主词加动词，然后逗号再加主词加动词。这表示说由于或者是鉴于什么什么，考虑到什么什么。那这边来造两个例句。Given her young age, she's pretty mature. 考虑到她年纪轻轻，她的心智相当成熟。Given that we don't have much time, we need to speed things up a bit. 考虑到我们没多少时间，得让事情进行得快一点。好，那补充一下 considering 这个字也可以表达考量到什么什么，鉴于什么什么。那它可以当介系词或连接词用。当介系词的时候，后面是接名词，或者是可以接 WH 疑问词所引导的名词子句。那么当连接词的时候，后面是接 that 子句， that 可以省略。举例来说 Considering how small their budget was, they did a pretty good job. 考量到他们预算那么低，他们表现得相当不错。好，那再造一个例句是The car is in good condition, considering that it's over 30 years old. 那这个 that 也可以省略。这个句子就是表达考量到那台车车龄超过30年，它的车况是良好的。好，我们看到课文第二部分，它介绍了抽卡游戏。这类游戏常常以战利品箱的形式提供奖励给玩家，吸引玩家持续的参与。那 loot box 就是指战利品箱、随机宝箱。而课文的最后一句提到说，然而战利品箱也因其成瘾性和类似赌博的性质而受到批评。文中它有用到 due to 来表达因为由于的意思，那就会跟 because of 或是 owing to 意思差不多。后面常常会接名词或动名词来说明原因。那这边要注意几个重点咯。第一个是 due to 和 owing to 是比较正式的用法，比较常会用在正式的公告里面，可能像是政府宣布的消息啊，或者是像航空公司宣布因为某些缘故而取消了班机之类的。那 because of 在口语当中会是比较常用的。第二个重点是Due to 和 because of 可以接在 be 动词后面当补语用，那么 owing to 就不行了。像 The delay was due to heavy fog， 延误是因为起了浓雾。那第三个，如果要在 due to 后面接子句，则必须先加上同位语 the fact， 写作 due to the fact that 主词加动词。可是这其实就跟 because 接子句意思差不多啦。好，那我们以上这些重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Competitive.Due to her competitive nature, Nora is constantly working to be the best at everything she does. Currency. Tourists typically exchange some of their home nation's currency for the local currency when traveling abroad. Acquire. It often takes time and effort to acquire the knowledge needed for a new job. Purchase. Before you purchase a car, it's important to compare different models and prices. Resemble.Aaron closely resembles his older brother Alan in both appearance and personality. Criticism. One major criticism of the new plan is that it's expected to be very costly.
Discussion Starter starts now!
It's time now for our discussion starter. The question is, do you enjoy playing gotcha games? Why or why not?
Well, for this one, I'm going to say no. I'm not really a fan of gotcha games, given that I do play PC games, I do play computer games, but I try not to play these games with a lot of gotcha mechanics and loot boxes and things like that. I just think it takes away the fun knowing that no matter how much time I put into the game, there's some rich person out there who's able to buy all the best stuff and beat me, even though they haven't put in the time. So I kind of just avoid the whole idea.
That's good advice, but, well, I don't think I have played the games before, but I will say yes, I'm interested in gachapon per se, because one time I was walking past some machines next to a 7-Eleven, and one theme was the K-cars in Japan. Last time I was there, I saw all those K-cars there. I thought they were kind of cute, so I thought, maybe I should buy one. They'd be kind of interesting. Maybe I can get the Honda N-Box or the Daihatsu Tonto or something like that. That would be really cool to have.
Just tell us you didn't spend your whole month's salary.
Oh, no, just a couple of them, and that would be it.
Good man.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.